I now have fingers pointing at my face telling me that this camera is live. So, as is custom, Monsieur Alex, we will wait till we hear someone say that they can hear us, and then we will get things started. There's actually a fun, this is, oh, yep, they can hear us. People are here. People are jumping in. Hello, everyone. Hello, Knights of Honor fans, Knights of Honor community and world. Welcome to DevStream. Good Lord, I think it's 23 now, if I remember correctly. I am joined by my great and wonderful friend, Alex. How are you doing today, Alex?
Hi, Brad. Nice to see you again. I never believed that I'll say this, but I kind of started missing this. Yeah, it was quite a long time until I was on one of those. So yeah, I'm excited, and everything is going great right now.
Yeah, it's been a little while since we've done a last dev stream, and I apologize to everyone. We had the American Thanksgiving holiday, which was definitely an interruption, and then we had some other scheduling conflicts, and it was difficult to get like the right time lined up for everybody, just because there's been a lot going on. But hey, we're back, and we're gonna be talking about the second half. I'm sure a lot of people have been waiting for it for a while. The second half of the religion, Dev Diary and Dev Stream. Alex, you have a sword through your head. I don't know if you realize that when you put that image back there.
Oh,
But the way that
then
you're framed up right now, it's just like it looks like that guy just literally impaled you right in the back. It's pretty great.
well, it's historically accurate, so I think we can just roll with it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's. I was actually talking about this during stream prep. Like, it's been a while. I think it's been like this is the longest we've gone. I think it was 6 weeks since our last stream. My hair has grown 6 weeks more.
Yeah,
We're gonna
true.
have Georgie on a little bit, and we're gonna have the comparison of the hair to the beard. Like now we have two different ways we're going with this thing.
Yeah, I also missed the previous one because I was sick 3 times in a row. So, yeah, it's quite a long for me. But yeah, right now everything is great. So we're back on track.
Yeah, and we should be. I think we'll have another stream right after the new year. So this gap should be hopefully with Thanksgiving and the way this is lined up with the Christmas holiday and the New Year holiday. Right when we come back in January, we'll be talking back to you guys, and we'll have something new to go through. But today we are talking about the second half of religion. I see all of our good friends are all chatting, and we're getting questions about Turkish language support, which I think we get every single stream. So it's good to see all the normal people back. Sawbone was saying something about Hotlanta, so that's always great. I don't know if I've been on here since my team won the World Series, so that was an experience of a lifetime, that's for sure. But we're gonna go into the topic for today and start going. So why don't we, before we get into the actual topic from this stream, well, this is actually the second half of two different of Dev Diaries and Dev Streams, right? So last time we talked about the Catholic and the Orthodox religion, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah. We covered the Christianity, and previously we had one for the in general for religion and what kinds of differences does it bring in the game. So this is yeah. Uh, Today I think that we'll be able to close the topic on the religion.
Yeah, and I'm super. So not that I'm gonna be. Well, I guess I am gonna be biased. To be honest, I'm gonna be a little bit biased. We're talking about my favorite in-game religion today, which is paganism. I, for some reason, love the pagan religion features in Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign. But we're also gonna be talking about the Muslim, the Islamic kingdoms and their religion stuff. So we have a quite to get over. Yeah, I know Kings of Honor. I'm just a dirty little pagan. We have quite a little to go over. So let's go ahead and jump right in. We're gonna start with the Islamic religion. By the way, if you haven't read it, the Dev Diary is live on our community site, so community.knightsofhonor.com. Recommend you check it out. Both of them are up there, and you can read all of the details that we're going to go over there, at least as a starting point, and then obviously we're going to talk about a little bit more as we go through the talk. So to start off, so kind of similar to what we said with the Catholic and Orthodox religions, the Muslim kingdoms have some baseline advantages by being Muslim. So maybe you can talk a little bit about those and what those provide you as kind of a starting point.
Yeah. The Muslim kingdoms they are divided in Shia and Sunni Islam. They have similar bonuses, which are basically similar type of bonuses but different values. of those bonuses in general. And the most important bonuses from all are higher production of faith, which is the currency that is called piety for the Christians, and tradition for the pagans. So they have more, so to say, options to play with religious characters, and they can more often use them for their actions. They also have a bit more gold production, and probably my favorite is that they have some bonuses on stability, which is quite important, especially on the current balance of the game, because when you make quickly developing and expanding kingdom, you can have a lot of problems with rebellions, and stability is quite important. So these are just the passive bonuses, of course, of them.
Yeah, and we talked about, I think, with the like, as an example, right? On the Catholic side, you had bonuses to like it was commerce and trade. So like there were other ways that those kingdoms got boosted. So I mean, when you really start playing as a Islamic kingdom, you know, there are maybe some different choices you may make to take advantage of those bonuses when it comes to leveraging your the skills of your royal courts, or things you can do when it comes to like converting a province that you conquer. It does give you a little bit of a start, because I mean, books and faith, especially in the beginning, or sorry, faith and gold, but especially faith in the beginning, can be a little bit tricky to come by. Some of the faith buildings are a little bit deeper in the province update trees.
Yeah, it's for beginners, these differences might be small, so they will not feel such a huge difference playing from Christian to Islamic kingdom, especially for the passive bonuses, I mean, because the actions are vastly different. But the passive bonuses do matter if you're a more advanced player. You try to min-max your strategy, and then the little differences lead to some more significant effects that you can take advantage of.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a nice you know, tone setting change based on which part of the world you're playing in and what the faith of the people are when you start, and then having a way to like kind of capitalize on those unique aspects as you're kind of progressing. I mean, even if we're I think all strategy fans like to believe they're somewhat a min-maxer, right? Like you play the fantasy a little bit, but all of us attempt to play well. I think there's some that actually are, and there's the ones that think they are, but still, I think having that like bonus in the beginning, I definitely, you know, for me, it certainly influences how, you know, the decisions I play. I know that actually, not this last build, but the build before, the milestone before, I played exclusively just Islamic and Muslim nations and tried that out, and definitely had a different strategy for sure. Now, there's another big change that is about the religious buildings, and we talked about this again. We talked about the core aspects of religion, where there are some uniquenesses in both some buildings as well as the bonuses that certain buildings give. So, can you talk? Yeah. Well, Kings of Honor, I'm not going to say which one you may or may not be when it comes to being a min-maxer or a wannabe min-maxer. I'll let you self-evaluate. So when it comes to the buildings, what are the differences between what are the unique elements of the Muslim buildings, the Islamic buildings?
We can basically separate the differences in two groups. There are some unique buildings and upgrades that Islamic or Christian kingdoms can do or cannot do. And also there are some slight differences, and these are having the same upgrades or buildings, but having different bonuses from them because of your kingdom's religion. For example, one building that you can never build as a Christian is a great mosque. Well, you can, for example, overtake a province that has a great mosque. Of course, you receive just some of the bonuses that building provides. But there are some upgrades that you can never do. For example, let's say in the housings, if you're playing Muslim, you can make an upgrade which is called enclosed gardens. And Christians, for example, I don't know, can I say this? Are we old enough? Are everybody old enough? Well, they can. You can have brothels as Christian player.
they're part of that time frame, so I think it's all fair
Yeah,
game, right?
yeah, absolutely. Also, as a Muslim kingdom, you can have some very cool buildings that are related to trade and upgrades. For example, some of the upgrades are you can have caravanserai, you can have muhtasib. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing some of this correctly, but yeah. You can also have, for example, an upgrade which is called harem in your royal palace. All of those are not available for Christian or pagan kingdoms, of course.
Yeah,
Um,
I know the one that we talked about in the dev diary that I thought was interesting was the difference between the like the how the winery works, because historically speaking, I guess there was a alcohol is forbidden in those areas, so the winery bonuses work different. And there's also a spice shop and a carpet maker. It's like some of these things that are a little more like we talked about before. It's not historically accurate, but historically inspired. How does the winery works completely different, right? Like it has its own little set of functionality.
yeah, we have debated on completely removing such buildings for and upgrades for Muslim kingdoms, but it actually would break the whole technological development, actually, because you need it for a lot of stuff like distilleries, which later on produce. You need them for medicine, you need them for ink, and so
Right,
on.
right, right.
So we have allowed this upgrade for Muslim kingdoms, but they receive less bonuses from them. For example, Christians and pagans would receive bonuses on happiness. For example, they get gold from candles, and when you play as Muslim, you have less of those bonuses, or some of them you don't get it at all. But you have some bigger advantages. For example, when you produce carpets, spices, camel trade, and so on, because they were more better developed in Muslim kingdoms, and we wanted to make this not just as a flavor, but actually a more significant part of the gameplay.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. By the way, I see a few people typing. I'm not sure what the different language is, but please keep the chat in English because I don't know. I can't read comments in non-English, so I'd really appreciate that. Yeah, I think that's a really a commitment and just how the religion works in general. It's not something that is completely asymmetrical, I would say, but there's a lot of unique elements that definitely make them play differently, and they're not just on the surface and cosmetic. They actually can change like your build order, how you leverage a certain building, or what purpose it's for, or what you may do with those goods. I think that's
Yeah,
it definitely has an impact. I think that's really cool.
yeah,
Now,
it's even bigger. I just want to add something on this. There are some different requirements. For example, if you want to complete your merchants guild as a Muslim kingdom, you need some different resources than Christian. So some provinces are more important for you than if you pay as one of the other religions. So yeah.
this is not related to what we're talking about, but there's an interesting conversation going on in chat right now about people saying hello from different countries. I'd actually be really curious, chat, where everyone's from. I see someone saying hello from Switzerland. Obviously, we have our Bulgarian friends here. Over in the U.S. I'm sure people are from all over the place. We have Germany. So if people want to sound off in chat while we're still going on, I'd love to hear where all of our fans are from. And we have people from all over the world: Canada and Norway, Romania. We got a lot of different places. Just to show you, Alex, the game is universally, globally, has a global fan base and excitement. We have Turkey, Norway, Spain, yeah, all over the place. England,
We
Russia. Wow,
really appreciate it. Really.
yeah, North Korea. Wow, Earth. Oh, Sawbones from Earth. That's fun. Someone said a location from they're from that I'm not going to repeat. We'll see how that goes. Algeria. So let's go into the next part of this. So as we talked about, the rural court is kind of that center, like a structure that a lot of these features are based off of. So we have our kind of religious rural court class, and they have different names for the different religions. So for the Islamic religions, they're called scholars. and they have their own, just like the buildings and the bonuses. They have their own unique mechanics, and one of them is this idea of being able to send your scholar on a great journey, to journey across the world. So, I mean, you can tell our audience a little bit about how this great journey mechanic works for scholars.
First, it is not something that you can do all the time. It's on the opportunity system. It's based on the opportunity system. So from time to time, you have some destinations you can visit. It's a good idea to check them on the map to see. You don't know the exact path that the score will choose, but it's good to avoid some more problematic provinces that, especially with kingdoms that you are in war with. And if you accept the journey, then it takes quite a long time, and it's one of the very few actions that is actually separated on many steps. So it's not just one single event that you get success or fail or some kind of bonus, but it's really a journey. It's very flavorful because there's developing story about the journey as it's. As it goes, and you get different bonuses or penalties or many kinds of stuff from the towns and kingdoms the scorer actually passes through. Most of them are positive. For example, he can improve the knowledge of your kingdom, which means books, or get some piety and gold bonuses, which are flavorfully decorated with a story behind them. But there are some.
I'm gonna jump in. I feel like the journey thing is actually kind of a neat aspect because it adds a little bit more of that character and personality into the scholar. And I like what you were saying about how you have to you have to be mindful of where you send the scholar, because if you go to someone who maybe you're at war with or doesn't like you, I mean, all the events that happen on a journey may not all be positive. And I think if you look at the Dev Diary, you have some images of one that, you get, I think the scholar gets attacked by barbarians but somehow escapes or something like that. So there's a little bit of like that dynamic content that comes up when they're on the journey, and that can be influenced by where you decide to send them and which path they take.
There are some really cool bonuses. For example, it's even possible that the scorer can convert the religion. He's so influential. This is one very powerful score, of course. It depends on the level of the score and so on. But he can even convert the religion of the province he is in. So imagine playing with many powerful clerics, scores, and you just send them all the time on journeys. This is a strategy that can easily backfire on you, because sometimes the kingdoms that they pass through can get angry for them preaching their religion and so on.
Why would you get mad from some foreign scholar walking around and trying to convert your people?
It
sounds completely reasonable just to let it happen.
The scores can easily get even imprisoned and so on. Sometimes even killed.
So there's some risk and reward there, but I imagine it's mostly reward as long as you're kind of paying attention and making the right kind of decisions there. And I think that's all hail the Bradster. I love it. I think maybe we need to get some like custom THQ Nordic or Knights of Honor emotes or something, like the go-go beard and the long hair or whatever we can find. If anyone wants to make some custom emoticons out there that has some art chops, I'm not gonna say no. So I think that it's a big part of kind of that immersive element where you have those dynamic events that show up, and it kind of feels really cool. Now there's another aspect of this that I think is super important, which is being able to kind of pursue becoming the Caliphate, and it has its own kind of dynamics and gameplay around that as well.
This is probably the reason that Muslim kingdoms are my favorite. I actually had one great game with Oman recently. It was more than 20 hours.
Wow!
And in the end, I had about 60 provinces, I think, and it is very difficult to become a caliphate actually, and that makes it actually interesting because first you have to be a powerful kingdom, but that's not enough. You have to, if there are too many caliphates, it's very difficult to establish a new one. So you have to get in competition with the rest of them, and either destroy them or just convince them to stop being caliphates, which, as you imagine, is not so easy to do. And they're also, they start very powerful. They're always great powers, and they have huge influence in the Muslim world. So I think that we can easily say that starting as a caliphate will be the easy mode of Knights of Honor. But yeah, it's very challenging to do. Probably we can talk a bit about the bonuses.
If you can, really briefly, I do got to get Gogo on here so we can go over some of the other paganism stuff, which I can't wait to talk about. But there are obviously pursuing caliphate is an important thing to get, and there are a lot of, I guess, bonuses and actions that open up when you become a caliphate. I know one we're going to talk about is being able to declare a jihad, but what are some of the other bonuses that you can get?
Well, there are some passive bonuses that
so Stopples, I think there's a little bit of confusion. So DJ Isma is referencing another title called Expeditions to Rome. That's the date for that game. We have not announced any dates or timelines for Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign. We've talked about the release date question a number of times here. You can probably grab any of my 5 or 6 times I responded to that one for a reason why we haven't done that yet. But anyways, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to clarify because someone put a date for a different game in chat. I didn't want people to get confused.
Yeah, sure.
You're not done with the game in January, I don't think, are you, Alex?
Well, we can discuss it. Okay. All right. So yeah, some of the bonuses. The passive bonuses. Starting off with, you get, of course, some instant boost on fame. You get higher stability in the kingdom. You have some morale bonuses on the troops, and which is probably it is harder to describe to the players because it's related to specific diplomatic offers, but it's hugely important. The whole Islamic world starts to treat you differently. They have more respect towards you, and this is a great boost because you can make more royal marriages, trade, and everything. It's just very helpful. You know that you have the respect of the other kingdoms. They support you as an emperor of the world if you try to become one. There are a lot of passive bonuses to becoming caliphate.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting, almost like stepping stone, right? Like if you're trying to go for that victory condition. There's a lot of diplomatic challenges that go into that path. So maybe securing that kind of support from the people that share your religion, and maybe even spreading it around a little bit with your scholars. Like some of these things kind of like tie together, so they kind of help you to decide how you want to get the world to agree that you can be the emperor of the world. So I think that's really cool. So the last thing we want, two things else we want to talk about before we get go on. We're running a little bit behind. Really quickly, because I know everyone has questions about jihad. So how do the jihad mechanics work? Because you're able to, once you become a caliphate, you can declare a jihad against somebody.
Okay, so jihad is generally holy war. You cannot declare it from towards against other Muslim kingdoms. So you have to be in war either with Christians or pagans. Not every war you lead as a caliphate, of course, is a jihad. There is some cost of declaring one. But once you declare one of your wars as jihad, you get some instant additional bonuses like morale. And here, to keep it short, again, the most important thing is that the other Muslim kingdoms are much more likely to join and to aid you in that war. And the kingdom that is in war against the caliphate is actually a pretty big problem, especially if it's near the Muslim world, and if it has more relations with the Muslim world, for example, trade and so on. Well, this war can be devastating for that kingdom. And also, it provides a lot of bonuses once you started. For example, your clergy, which are the scores actually for Muslim kingdoms, their opinion rises when you declare jihad, when you win it, when you win battles, and so on. But there are some penalties if you want to just sign peace half the way. So
Yeah.
it
It
might
sounds
be.
yeah. I mean, it sounds like jihad is a way to really kind of leverage your relationships and and kind of the motivation of your people in that war against someone that's not of that faith. And I think this it's a neat. It may seem a little bit subtle at first, but it is quite different than the crusades that the Catholic kingdom can put in, because you have direct
Yeah.
control. It can be to your benefit. You can conquer someone with it directly, as opposed to it being under control of like the Pope or the Catholic Church. And so there's a lot of different elements
Yeah.
there that make
It's
it unique.
completely different from the crusade. There is mechanically there's almost nothing alike in those two mechanics.
Yeah, super
Yeah.
cool. Now, last thing before we bring Gogo on, so we do have the two Shia and Sunni arms of kind of the Muslim religion based on which kingdom you start with. And there are some subtle, there's not many differences between the two. It's not like Catholicism and Orthodox, but there are some slight differences, I think, in their bonuses or kind of how they generate faith and whatnot, right?
Yeah, the differences are really slight. They're the most important are which cities are considered holy by Sunni and Shia followers, and there are some smaller differences, like, for example, Shia have higher stability bonuses, but are more zealous, and they can have more tension with provinces that have other religions and kingdoms that occupy their lands and so on. This is very
Or
briefly the
that is
difference.
definitely one of the more like flavor category differences. So it's there, but it's not like as
Yeah,
extreme as some of the other changes.
yeah, it's
So
true. It's true.
well,
And
I see some
also,
people that are. We got to move on because we're taking too long on this
yeah,
one. So
okay, sure, sure.
I see a lot of cool comments on people that are excited about playing as chat's been going on, playing some of the different Islamic religions and whatnot. So it's cool seeing how different people kind of slot into the things that they're excited about. So Alex, we're gonna bring you back for the questions. But now I'm gonna talk about the religion that I have the most fun playing. Gogo's gonna join me. So let's bring on the epic beard. Everyone, let's we need beard chants in chat to bring Gogo on. He's beard famous. Gogo, there you are. Yes,
Hello, hello.
beard. How you doing,
Happy
man?
to see you. I'm good. I'm good. Great. I've been listening to some Viking pagan metal today to get pumped to talk about this. So
You've been listening
we
to
are.
Viking metal to get pumped for the stream.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh man, if I wasn't worried about DMCA, that would be so much fun to play that as a background when we talk about the paganism. It's like Viking
would be great.
thrasher metal.
Absolutely.
You'll have to send me your playlist after the stream. Maybe I'll play that in the background here later on. Yeah.
Okay.
Kings of Honor. That's commitment. I agree. I see like there's some other people that are fans of this too. So we're gonna talk about paganism, but before we do that, really quick, how have you been, man? How's life?
Yeah, it's been going alright. Nothing interesting to say apart from the fact that it's snowing a lot in here. Winter is really heavy, so I've been driving my RC cars out in the snow and having fun like that.
You have RC
Yeah.
cars that you drive in the snow?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. Just
That's
off-roading.
amazing.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know it's snowing outside with the sacrifice pyre or whatever is going on behind you.
Yeah, in the desert with the monoliths in the background, yeah.
Well, let's paganism is, and the reason why it's my favorite is because it is so different than all the other ones. It has a completely different structure to it from its complete foundation. And I like that. I like that variance in gameplay and walking into an experience where what you're doing and how you're thinking just completely shifts. So at its core, and probably like the one of the fundamental starting points is that there are no baseline bonuses when you start as a pagan religion. It's like it's flat. You start as paganism, and you get. It's not like with the commerce and gold or trade or whatever boost that you get from some of the other ones. You
Yeah.
just start at the get go as nothing.
Yeah, and you even get some negatives. For example, you have minus like a little bit less gold to start off with, and currently there's something like 50% less book income, which is a pretty big hit. So you not only start with no bonuses, but you also gain some slight negatives in the beginning.
Yeah. But see, then it gets balanced by the cool stuff. So,
Yep.
pagans have shamans as a royal court member, and unlike I mean, all religious characters are very powerful for the different religions, but shamans are exceptionally powerful. They have a completely different structure to them, and one of them is the ability to promote a belief, and you have a whole different menu of beliefs that you can pick from. And this is really like where the differentiation comes in, because I think, and we talked about this, I think back a long time ago, in one of the very first religion dev diaries, that paganism, I don't want to say it's a catch-all, but it's for all the religions that were not necessarily like falling into the bucket of Catholicism or Islam. So we have a lot of different belief structures in there. And the idea for the shaman is that you can promote one of those types of belief structures and get bonuses from them. It's
Yep.
so cool. I mean, can you tell us a little bit about like what the different options are for promoting and kind of how they work?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you said, each shaman can promote a belief. Right now, we did implement, like, we have a limitation in terms of how many you want to have at a given time. Potentially, any shaman can promote a belief, but right now we have limited to 4 per kingdom. But we are playing around with that number, so it might turn up to be 9 in the end. Who knows? Like, it depends on the
I mean,
balancing and what
that
you
number
stake.
has changed, I think, like multiple times just in the last like 3 or 4 months. So
Definitely. Yeah,
who
yeah,
knows
yeah,
where it's going to end up?
yeah. And
I want to be able to promote all of them. I'm on the promote all. I want 9 shaman with 9 beliefs personally. But anyway, sorry, go on.
I'm with you there. And every belief costs some gold to upkeep, which increases the more beliefs you have. And they're basically ranging in different senses. So some of them are military focused, other ones are more economically focused. So I can give you some examples just to give you a brief idea. So for example, one of my favorite ones are raids. If you promote raids, you can get bonus gold from pillaging, which is always nice, especially early on when you need the gold. And you also get more army travel speed, which again helps with the gold, with the pillaging, because you can play around with 2 or 3 marshals or shamans, as we're going to discuss later on. You can just circle around kingdoms and be causing havoc all the place.
Yeah, I feel like there's you know, what I like about that what you just described is like there's, based on what your strategy is or what you're trying to do, the belief that you decide to promote can amplify that. So if you're really trying to do a pillage and raid strategy, taking that promotion can be super impactful. There's one for commerce, there's one for books, there's like all these different ones that promote different things and have different bonuses. So it
Yeah.
kind of allows that kind of customization. By the way, you had a slip of the tongue. Instead of saying rating, you said goats in the description right there, and all of chat picked up on that. And I want to say, I think I saw like earlier on Snuffles or someone, or at least I don't think I've here before a couple times, was like, what in the world is with this whole goat meme thing? Honestly, I don't even know
I
exactly
don't
what the whole
know.
thing's started.
I don't know as well. Yeah.
It's been going on since the beginning, and there are some goat believers out there, and it's just, I mean, welcome to the Knights of Honor 2 stream Twitch community. It's you know, pet your goat on the way in, like that's the way it works. So
Yeah. I can
um,
also give you a different example of a belief that is more defensively focused. Well,
okay.
there are a few actually, because if you pick, for example, family, you get more population growth throughout your towns, and you gain bonus food in towns and in farms, which is really powerful. So in theory, you can be more peaceful with that belief and produce a lot of food, maybe export that to gain gold, and have more population for defense or for recruiting troops, whatever. And on the same spectrum, you can also promote something like freedom, which, for example, gives you more defensive capabilities, more morale at home, siege resilience, army defense. So there's a good balance of offensive and defensive opportunities you can gain from those beliefs.
Yeah, I see Snopples is getting right into the theme of things, and it says Godism needs to be one of our beliefs you can promote. And I honestly kind of agree. Godism should make it into the game. I don't know how we want to color that so it's not a complete destruction of our historical theming, but I think maybe it's time. We'll see. So
April 1st, DOC.
yeah. April 1st DLC. I like that. So the other thing is that, and this is I think another aspect of the uniqueness of pagans, right? So in paganism, the shamans are a whole different class of royal court member, and they're very different than all the other royal court members. They have their own strengths when it comes to like giving those bonuses, and they have some of the actions that other like the clerics and the scholars can take, like converting or whatnot. But then they're like super troop leaders, right? Like they have the ability to raise a much larger army than the normal non-martial royal court members can.
Yeah, they're kind of a mix. Like they're in between regular marshals and non-marshals in the sense that they can have the maximum amount of squads. They're not limited to 5 as merchants and diplomats and spies are. So you can have a shaman in the beginning. You can order him to promote a belief, and then you can immediately send him into combat, and you would have those troops available. The only downside, of course, is that because he is a cleric type character, he's called shaman, he doesn't get the opportunity to gain many military focused skills. So his pool of skills is a little bit more, like it's more towards the cleric side. So he's not that efficient in terms of skills, but he can be really useful if you want to hire something for a brief moment. For example, rebels are appearing. Hiring a shaman and getting him to lead an army is more efficient than hiring getting a merchant, for example.
I think because you can give them some martial skills, and because the shaman doesn't need a martial skill in order to lead an army, I mean, I think there's probably a way where you could play with a pretty heavy shaman military force and make a run at it. Like you could do some cool stuff with it. And I think
the
that's
first time
super compelling.
First time I played with the pagans, that was my strategy. I had like full court of shaman. It was all right for like a good majority of the game. Although after that, you kind of feel that you have to branch out and get some merchants, marshals, whatnot.
Yeah, I just like I love the added depth of being able to, especially in the beginning, right? I mean, in the very beginning of the game, instead of hiring your marshal to deal with your army in the beginning, you could have 2 shamans running around as kind of your initial military force and leverage the bonuses to get a jump start. So it really, I mean, to that whole min-max thing, it really does change how you start your initial projection. And even in the original Knights of Honor, like there was getting that marshal early was important because you needed to be able to have, even if you were playing defensively, you need to have some military projected to protect your borders, to discourage someone declaring war against you. So you grab 2 or 3 shaman and use those as kind of your like stoppage force. All of a sudden you can do your own growth curves of like developing your provinces and leveraging those bonuses for trade or for whatever you want. And then as you ramp up, maybe a little bit better than your neighbors, you go get that marshal and do the next step. And I think that's a super intriguing strategy to really like try playing a little bit differently than you would from some of the other religions.
Yeah, it's super cool, and there's kind of also the moment when I play a pagan, I'm kind of really anxious about losing my shamans because usually they promote a belief. So losing a shaman not only loses a court member, but you also lose the bonuses. Yeah. So it's a little bit of a dangerous side.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point to mention. Now, you had said before about some of like the potential negatives, but there are others that kind of complement just how diverse and how wide range there are. So, one of the things is that their building access is completely different. So they don't have access to the same building bonuses and special goods that some of the other religions have.
Yeah. So for the pagans, the biggest let's say it is a negative. The biggest negative is that you don't have a few big buildings like cathedrals and universities that are specific for that are buildable by their religions, and of course that means that some resources that are produced by those buildings are not available to you. So for example, some of the resources you might import if you have merchants. That's one way to attain them if you can produce them, but others you can't because something like social castes, which are types of resources we have, for example, like clergy and artists and so on, those you can't import. So your way to attain them would be either to conquer a province that already produces them and don't demolish the buildings that are there, or simply change your religion, but that's a different solution altogether.
Well, and that's a different. I think we talked about this in the Dev Diary as well. So since you mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and jump in there, right? Like it's also easier to convert from paganism to one of the other religions if you wanted to maybe change your kingdom to a different religion, correct? Like it's an easier path than some of the others.
Yeah, it is. It is a bit easier. There's a certain percentage that we add towards the calculations if you're pagan, and we visualize that. If you decide to switch around your tactics mid-game, for example, if you want to fast start with conquering and then you want to switch a religion which is focused on, maybe if you have a lot of provinces that are orthodox and you've converted and you've conquered them and you don't want to convert them to paganism, you can simply switch your religion. But I don't like to do that personally, because if I go pagan, I go to the end.
But I think there's some really interesting, like you said, meta strategies there, where it's if say you decide in the beginning to leverage the pagan uniqueness bonuses to get a different starting position, and then say switch over to Muslim and try to quick angle over to a caliphate so you can get the benefits of the kingdom as you're trying to get the vote for emperor of the world. Like there are some paths there that are quite multi-layered and complex when it comes to how you may capitalize on that advantage, versus if you're a Catholic religion, deciding to change over can be really expensive and very risky and costly. You may be able to take advantage of that unique element and boost up, and then exit out and take those other baseline advantages of the other religions. But I think it's just all of it adds together, just opening up a lot of possibilities. And I think that's the thing that I like about paganism the most. It allows a lot of different options to explore different strategies, both at the low level and the meta level as you progress. I think that's super exciting.
Absolutely. Well said.
So, one last aspect about paganism before we switch to questions that we talked about in the Dev Diary is that the paganism spreads different than the other religion, and that's another unique element of how it works.
Yeah, there's a concept of it's like an automatic force that starts spreading from pagan kingdoms throughout others. So if you're not a pagan kingdom and you open the political view, from time to time you might see the colorization of the religion. You just spread out a little bit with the color of the pagans as it spreads automatically. And from time to time you receive messages if a neighboring kingdom has been a province of it has been converted to pagan, or yours. So you kind of have some time to act. And this helps you as a pagan kingdom because it counters those negatives we mentioned earlier. If you conquer, because most provinces around you won't be pagan, probably if you conquer them, then that heresy spreading system kind of works in your favor.
Okay. Yeah, and I think it's like you mentioned earlier. If you want to do maybe a conquest heavy strat in the beginning, that can reduce the amount of currencies like faith or whatever that you need to convert some of those provinces out. You get them because it's kind of spreading naturally, and that's different than the other religions. The other religions don't have that same kind of spread mechanism.
Yeah, and if you're on the receiving end, from what I remember in the last iterations we did to the system, if you have some sort of like culture bonuses that are really powerful in your kingdom, you will be less likely to be converted to that. So there is a way to defend yourself against that spreading, so to say.
Right. Makes sense. But I think what's really cool about it is just having that like extra. I don't know. I think it's kind of fun to be able to play it's almost like culture bombing, right? But it's religion bombing. So if you're a pagan, you can kind of slowly be encroaching, and imagine like surrounding someone and just watching and it forces them to take actions in order to deal with it, like with having their clerics and their scholars, depending on which religion they are, kind of build up and like reinforce faith. So they're spending faith on that, and so it's a distraction. And I imagine in multiplayer, it has a whole different element. So there's a lot of different dynamics that you can play with.
Oh yeah, and there's also let's not forget about the spy action. Well, the spy opportunity that is spreading heresy, which we call heresy, but it's paganism. So you can spread paganism through a spy if you've bribed a cleric in any kingdom. It doesn't matter their religion.
Okay.
So that's it's actually interesting because even if your kingdom is not pagan, if you have a spy somewhere and you've bribed a cleric, you can spread paganism within their lands. So in that
So
way,
even being aware of
paganism.
that mechanic allows you to maybe leverage that spy action a little bit more effectively.
Yeah. So in that sense, paganism is easily spread throughout the world.
I want to see someone, I'm sure when the game finally launches, someone who gets the whole world to be a pagan belief, just spreads it everywhere, sending spies all over the place, just
And then
slowly
converts
eating
to
away at all.
Christianity.
That's right. Forget all of them. We're all going to listen to Viking death metal music. Well, Gogo, let's bring Alex back on here. We have about 15 minutes left, and we have not hung out with our lovely fan base on Twitch for a while, so I think it'd be great to take some questions. I've seen a lot of questions coming up here. We have some questions from our community site. So as a reminder, it's down this way, I think. If I point the right direction, we'll see. I think so. It's community.knightsofhonor.com. That's the way. That's the location for our community site. We have all of our dev diaries are posted there. So if you want to read all of this, you can see it there. We have conversations there. It's a great place to get plugged in. And I always, the night before, take questions from the dev diary responses and bring them on stream. So we have a couple questions that we're going to grab. A lot of, honestly, this has been super exciting for this dev diary. We actually had quite a bit of traffic. I think 9 or 10 different comments, but most of it were just people excited. Like there were like 2 or 3 questions, but a lot of people were like, "Man, this sounds awesome! I can't wait to play." Blah blah blah. So I think that's it's really encouraging to see such positivity from everyone about the end of the religion discussion of feature set, and that's super cool. So thank you all for your kind and positive comments. So the first question, and I think hopefully Ivory's still around, but the first question was from Ivory Knight, and we talked about this during the stream, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it anyways. So you mentioned that the Islamic religions of Sunni and Shia have different holy cities which they consider holy and defend aggressively. Could you explain more specifically how the AI Sunni and Shia treats these cities with regards to diplomacy and war? So I'll throw that one over to Alex, and you can answer that one, please.
Okay, so basically there are some decision-making mechanics, whether a kingdom will accept an offer, declare a war to you, or something like this. And generally, if that kingdom is Sunni or Shia, it checks whether you control some of their holy cities and what's your religion. It's a lesser problem if you're Muslim but one from the other branch, and it's a bigger problem if you're pagan or Christian. And thus they are more likely to declare war, not to support you in any ways, and so on. These are the basic mechanics of decision making of AIs.
So how does it and which cities are the cities they consider holy different every time, or is it the same each time?
They are the same each time, but they're different from for Sunni and Shia. For Sunni, they are Mecca and Medina, and for Shia, Baghdad.
Okay. All right, so hopefully, Ivory Knight, that was a good answer for your question there. Let's go on to the next one. I think I saw Calliope around as well. So Calliope asked, by the way, a small question about modding. For instance, if I wanted to add another faith, like Godism, he didn't say that, that's me adding it in. If I wanted to add another faith in one of these religion groups, how easy would it be? Because I may have an idea for a time period, and he has like the cool little winky eyes. So we definitely have a lot of cool modding tools. I imagine adding a new complete religion would be pretty complex, but I guess it's probably doable.
Should I take this one as well? Currently, it's possible to copy some of the mechanics and tweak some of the values, what stats a religion gets. These are the things that are possible to be done. For example, if you want to make a branch of Christianity, for example, or Ibadi Islam, or something like this, What's not possible is to create by modding completely new mechanic, for example, like what we have with the pagans, or a completely new actions for the clergy, for example, journeys and so on. Of course, you cannot simply create such mechanics because they require coding, but you can tweak values, for example.
You can do a lot with that, I think. Like, so for example, and I'm not trying to tell you how to design your Goatism thing, but you could take Catholicism, move Rome to a different place, make the Pope called the Goat King, have the Council of Goats instead of cardinals, have their actions be different. You could probably add a couple actions, change what those actions did a little bit. Like there's quite a bit you could do, I think, with the way that the modding tools are hopefully going to be leverageable. So tweaking values is it's not just like just customizing numbers. You could like add new things and variable them as long as but you couldn't add a whole different functionality set. And I think that's it's more about shifting and slanting what's already there. But relabeling, changing the text pop-ups, like all that stuff is pretty powerful.
You can easily add different bonuses, but not create completely new bonuses that the code does not support, so to say.
You can create a goat resource as well.
Sorry?
Just saying, you can create a goat resource really easy. I can do it now. So keep that in mind, guys. Yeah.
Okay, but don't open Pandora's box, man. You start saying things and people are going to start expecting things. I'm going to take a couple of questions from the streams. We have about 8 minutes left. I haven't been thinking about it, Kings of Honor. That's just right off the dome, man. That's the way my brain works. All right, so this is another Kings of Honor one. I actually don't know the answer to this question, or if there is an answer, but Kings of Honor asked, what are the trade goods that pagans prefer? So are there different preferences for trade goods based on religion?
Preferences, no. There are, well, in a sense they are, because we haven't talked a lot about advantages in detail before, but they do appear again, like they were in Knights of Honor 1. And there's one specific advantage that's specific for pagans, which relies on different resources to counteract the fact that you don't have stuff like medicine and artists, which would be specific for that advantage, which is for the Christians and Muslims. And that advantage grants you more battle bonuses, more morale, more influence and fame. So in that sense, those resources that appear in that advantage might be useful to get more than the others.
I mean, it still is in a way like a preference, though, because you want to get those resources to take advantage of that tree potentially. So that's kind of cool, right?
They have higher benefits from furs also.
Oh yeah, more gold from furs.
Yeah.
Oh, right, that makes sense. Can't listen to Viking death metal without a fur, right? So this is a question I think that's not really about religion, but I'm gonna throw it out there anyways. I'm just curious how you guys will respond to this one. So K6 Mill asked, I don't even, was this true? Another asked, will Poland be overpowered like in the other historical game? So was Poland overpowered in Knights of Honor 1? I don't know if it really was, but what was your response to that? Good luck.
Poland is very powerful kingdom in Knights of Honor 2. I'm not sure which is the other historical game referred here, but yes, they're quite strong. They have some cool units, and they begin usually pretty big, depending on the period.
I don't think it's overpowered, though. I think there's not really saying overpowered in Knights of Honor 2 and even in Knights of Honor 1. I mean, it really depends on how you decide to deploy diplomacy and everything else. So it's just like playing. I remember there was one in Knights of Honor 1, like Germany was also very strong, but those things you could definitely do. So it wasn't like it was an OP kind.
Yeah, usually they have a lot of pagans around, depending on the period. So they have a lot of wars usually in the beginning of the game. I don't think that they're OP, but they're quite good kingdom, definitely.
All right, let's go. We got 5 more minutes left. Sawbones asked a silly question, which is, can you get robbed in the forest if your army is too small by bandits? No. You could have rebels spawn out for other reasons, but no, your little tiny army is not going to get robbed in the forest and taken advantage of and money stolen away. I guess I guess the scholars, though, I guess there could be an event about scholars that kind of mimics that fantasy you're talking about a little bit, but it's not exactly the way. It's not like your army was like, oh, you're not strong enough, and Robin Hood comes out and takes all your stuff. Like, it doesn't work that way. Let's see. Niners. I love these questions, right? Some of them are just. Niners Gaming asks, will there be mead paganism? Mead is important. So, is there can a pagan belief be meadism?
Currently, no, but I guess you can add it through modding as we were talking. There is AO as a resource, so that's the closest you get.
DJ Ismo69 asked, does Knights of Honor have a character creator? So there's not a character creator. There are ways to customize some aspects of the kingdom that you decide to play. And in a weird way, a kingdom has its own kind of character components to it. And you do have family, right? So you have your king, your sovereign, and as you're progressing, you can get married and you can have kids and you marry off your kids, and you have children. And those, when the king dies, the next king or the next heir inherits the kingdom. So there is, I mean, it's not really a character creator, but there is some like lineage and legacy elements in there involved. But it's not quite maybe what you're envisioning, where you like customize your king with personality traits and things like that. It doesn't quite work that way. Did I get that right? I think I did.
Yeah, definitely.
Yavor asks if there's going to be any Mongolian throat singing in some of the tracks, soundtrack. We did play with some of that. I know the Al-Toro guys messed with some of it. I don't remember if it stayed in there or not. We had some issues with the throat singing stuff we did because it was a little bit too dark, I guess is the way to put it. Like it was crazy. And when you're playing in the game and you have this atmosphere and you're making decisions, it kind of hit you really strong. Where you're like, man, all of a sudden the game got like really kind of intense, and I'm really just, you know, going to build a winery, and it sounds like something really crazy is happening. So I don't remember if we kept it in or if we have some alt versions of the tracks that we're working on that still have the throat singing in there, but we have experimented with it. Whether it makes the cut or not, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't think that we have. We still have the throat singing, but we definitely have some very cool tracks that are unique for specific religions. You only hear them if you interact or play as one of them.
Yeah, the different regions. We have like I think 3 or 4, 3.5, I think actually region, and some of the different music is skewed towards those regions, and which part of the world and which religion you have influences which tracks get played. Like there's some. We talked about this somewhat in the music DevStream and DevDiary once, quite a while ago. That's something that's super exciting to people. We can probably have another audio music event. I know a lot of people are big fans of that when we had it, so it's been a while since we talked to the Al-Toro guys. They may be up for coming and chatting again. Let's see. What time is it? We got 2 minutes left. Let's grab one more question. Yeah, so Calliope asks if they can repost the VOD on YouTube. We actually are going to be, so I know there's been some comments about previous VODs not being up. I can tell you that very soon all of them are going to show back up. I can't give you an exact timeline, but there's been some things that we're doing with the way our YouTube channels are set up to help make it easier for all that content to be posted and displayed and everything. So expect that change to be happening really soon. If you want to give commentary on it and whatever, feel free. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily repost it verbatim, but if you have a little bit of stuff we do, I know we have some people that are translating the streams and doing some, I even think some people in here do some reaction videos to the streams, so welcome you to do that and to give your commentary. I will say that we do watch a lot of the, I mean, I can't watch the ones that are translated because I don't speak those languages, but I definitely often go about and seek out some of the commentary footage, and I believe Niners Gaming and Ivory Night Kings were doing some like post-stream stuff a little while ago, and I watched a couple of those. So yeah, if you guys produce content, we definitely pay attention to it and love it, and are excited about it. So have at it. And I think that's the last one. I will grab this because it's come up a couple times. Everyone asks about the beta test option and how we're doing with that. We still haven't announced those plans yet. I still think we're gonna do a couple different layers of testing, and some of it may start sooner than you may think, but most of the early testing is going to be under NDA, and people won't even know who's testing because we're grabbing small groups of players. getting their feedback and tunings. We want to produce the best game we can, and sometimes getting some player feedback is super important. So there may be some people that get invited into that, and they'd be under NDA in the beginning and wouldn't be able to expose that. And then we'll probably do. We've talked about how we want to approach maybe doing a closed beta or an invite-only beta. So those are all ideas that we're exploring. How we do that and when we do that and what it looks like really just depends on what the game needs to get the input and feedback and how we can respond to it the best to make the best game we can. And it's kind of an organic progression. So hopefully you'll hear more about that in the future, but at the moment we don't have any solid plan. I think that about does her. We are 1 minute over. Alex, Georgie, any last comments you want to throw out there to our fan base? They've missed us so much. Anything you want to say? Alex, you first.
Sorry for the delay, and for the next time, we'll do everything we can to provide some footage from the game, something new. But I promise just on 99%, not 100. Okay.
You heard it here. 99%. We're gonna see some new footage next week. Demon Hunter, you asked about number of units. I'm sorry, I missed that one. We did do some conversations on military stuff, but I think we should do a stream on that. So let's save that conversation for a stream and a dev diary about more of the military stuff. Gogo, any comments you want to say before we close it out?
It was a blast. I was also, as Alex, anxious to talk about those stuff because it's really interesting to me and to all of us. So just so I can mention something for the chanting because it was mentioned. Remember when we were implementing the shrines for the first time, and a bunch of the guys were gathered up in the lunch break and just chanting with the audio designer with some microphones, and we had those recordings for like a lot of the time. So like when you click on the shrine, you heard that. So we did have some chanting in house, just to say.
Awesome. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining the stream. I hope you had a good time. The next one won't be as long as this one. That was just a rare gap, and we look forward to bringing our new content to you here and right after the new year. So have a great holiday. Have a great new year. Everyone be safe. Have fun. Enjoy family and friends. And we will see you with more Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign content after that. Thanks very much, everyone. See you later. Cheers.
Happy holidays.
Bye.